under martial law. It is a big idea, a new world order.
With skillful manipulating of the press, they're able to make the victim look like the criminal, and the criminal look like the victim.
We love what's happening.
Here preliminarily that the first
Yay, America, we can do it.
I welcome you to Make It Plain TV.
Is now investigating whether this was a hate crime. Authorities say the suspect walked up to this young man, Richard Collins III, a second lieutenant in the Army. Tonight, what the suspect allegedly said to him before stabbing him in front of his friends. ABC's Adrian Bankert is in Maryland.
Tonight, 22-year-old Sean Urbanski appearing before a judge to face first and second-degree murder charges in what the FBI says could possibly be a hate crime. Police saying the attack on Richard Collins was unprovoked.
Lieutenant Collins' life is so important to us that we need to give his family answers. Why was he killed? Not only who killed him, but under what circumstances?
The 23-year-old ROTC student was standing with friends at this University of Maryland bus stop at 3 a.m. Saturday when Urbanski approached them screaming. Witnesses tell police he told Collins to step left if you know what's good for you. Collins was puzzled and said no. Witnesses say that's when Urbanski stabbed him in the chest. Police say Urbanski is linked to a Facebook group called Alt-Right Nation that posts racist memes.
It shows extreme bias against women, Latinos, members of the Jewish faith, and especially African Americans.
ABC News has learned the suspect has no criminal record. His attorney says he was drunk and incoherent that night. Collins, who was set to graduate from nearby Bowie State University tomorrow, had been recently commissioned as a second lieutenant in the Army.
He had dreams of going and doing great things, serving his country, loving his family, loving people, and he loved God.
Police are still looking at surveillance footage of this stabbing. Meanwhile, the state's attorney is asking that the community remain patient while they gather evidence, saying it is far too early to call this a hate crime.
On May 20th at College Park, a young man, 23 years old, Lieutenant Collins III, was attacked by an alleged white supremacist and stabbed once in the heart, and he died. He was a potential graduate from Bowie State College, and he had just been commissioned the day before as a second lieutenant in the United States Army. A memorial service was held at Bowie State College for him, and people spoke out about him, his nature, and his memories, and so on, and also about how they felt about this young man losing his life. I'm Eddie Conway, coming to you from Bowie State College. At the time, we just had a memorial service for Lieutenant Collins III, and it was packed. State officials was here. A lot of notables, and right now I want to find out exactly what people was feeling.
I'm based out of Washington, D.C., but I came for several reasons. One, we want to extend our condolences to the family, the friends of Richard Collins. I also wanted to come just to, get a sense of what happened and learn and see what the pulse of the student body is and how they feel about everything. But also I just want to make sure that I'm here whenever we lose someone to a violent act of white supremacy. We want to make sure that we can be around and be in a space to where we want to be able to provide the leadership that the people needs to move forward in the correct manner, in a disciplined manner that can be used towards our liberation.
You can't stop someone from doing what they did, but there could have been a lot of actions that could have held someone accountable from even wanting to do something like this, or even making them feel like they had the space or it was okay to do something like this, and those measures were not taken. And
think about it, right? That's right.
We said there was, there's chalkings that say they want to deport our dreamers, and that's a dialogue to our president, and we tell them that these posters need to be investigated, and it's been months and we have no answers from who posted these posters or what's going on. There's a noose hung on our campus, and our president does not let us know until a week and a half later, and even then we're still not getting any transparency. And they don't think these incidents mean anything when a life is taken, and now Now they want to say that this is about diversity and inclusion. But we lost a brother, and I didn't know Richard personally. But the loss of one life is a loss to us all, and I want to extend my apologies to his family and friends as well.
Do you think there's something we need to be doing to address this whole issue of white supremacy and the lynching of black people? Because these are lynches.
Yeah, absolutely. Our history tells us the story. And I think we have to continue the legacy of doing what we're doing today. We do it in peace, we do it in love, but we also got to stand for something or we're going to fall for anything. And therefore, we need our young people today on this campus, and I want to be in support with them, just like the Martin Luther Kings, just like the Malcolm X, just like the many others who have gone before us, be it Thurgood Marshall, Harriet Tubman, and all these great men and women. This is what they did for us, and now we are given the torch, and we got to continue the fight in peace and in love. But we must stand and speak out against an injustice. And as a Christian man and a Catholic Christian man, where I see an injustice, I am called to step in. And that stepping in meaning that, just like Jesus, we have to speak up against the wrong that we are seeing in our community, that we have to voice. And sometimes we have to lay our life down, just like those who have gone before us.
I'm an activist who was born and raised in Baltimore, and I grew up in Maryland, seeing firsthand the effects of systemic racism that took place in our Baltimore City public school system, and the systemic injustices that have been taking place for many, many years against our black brothers and sisters. And it is appalling to me to see this kind of hate that's taking place in our own backyards. In College Park, a campus that is one of the most diverse campuses in our state, it's just unfathomable to me. You know, I work with the Muslim community predominantly to push back against Islamophobia and against the hate that Muslim brothers and sisters are facing, especially in the aftermath of this election. But we've been reaching out to our Jewish brothers and sisters, our black brothers and sisters, our immigrant, Latino, Hispanic brothers and sisters, because all of these communities are being impacted with the same racism that's perpetuated by white supremacy. And what we saw happen, this was a young man who had his whole entire life ahead of him. And this family, you know, they were preparing to celebrate his graduation, and now they're going to be planning a funeral. I mean, for what? Because he was black? Because of the color of his skin? I mean, it is unconscionable to me that this is happening in 2017 America, in our own backyards. And I'm here today on behalf of the Muslim community to say that we will not stay silent. We will stand with our black brothers and sisters. We will march, we will walk, we will push back against the systemic injustices that are taking place and against the white supremacy that is perpetuating these kind of injustices and taking the lives of our black brothers and sisters. We will not stay silent, and we are with you.
What touched me about his passing was just last week he was commissioned as a lieutenant officer in our building. I'm in the Fine and Performing Arts building, and I had the pleasure of sort of walking through the ceremony. And I did see him on a number of occasions on the campus, and so I didn't actually know him, but you know, as a father, as a professor, as a human being, I was definitely touched by his passing.
What's the mood here?
It's sadness. It's sadness. It's a loss. I mean, tomorrow's graduation, and ironically, as professors, we have to go to University of Maryland to have our graduation. So it's bittersweet for a lot of us. But there's also the hope that we can get justice. You know, that's what we're all about, getting justice. We've been here for 150 years. We're going to stand firm on the shoulders of our ancestors, and so this is something that's going to hopefully bring us together as a people as we now seek justice, you know, for the murder of this young brother.
Do you think the new Trump era philosophy and viciousness might have anything to do with this?
I definitely think it's this new neo-white supremacist, fascist, racist, xenophobic rhetoric that the Trump administration and many other people that support that mode of thinking. But yeah, this is nothing new. We've seen this before. It was only a few years ago that there was some racist slurs written on this campus in the very building that we just left. after the death of Trayvon Martin. So yeah, and we see more and more of these types of things happening at American University, at other universities around the country, where we're seeing this white supremacist. I don't call it alt-right, I call it what it is, which is white supremacist fascism. Is what I call it. And we're seeing that, yeah, definitely with this new era of Trumpism, whatever you want to call it, we're going to see this type of rhetoric, and this type of rhetoric is dangerous. It has consequences.
Well, I sat through 2 hours of a service for the brother, and at no point and no time did I hear anything about racism, lynching, or white supremacy, or any of that. Why do you think that is? I mean,
I think right now, definitely in terms of maybe perhaps honoring the family. Myself, I heard about the passing of a student over the weekend. Although his name was not released, I thought that there was definitely something dealing with racism, because there was nothing said about the race of this young man. Also, when I saw the two presidents coming together, that was sort of a red flag for me that there's something else that's happened. It was only till today I learned that this was at the hands of a white supremacist, And so why is that not being discussed? I'm not totally sure. Maybe it's just out of respect to the family, and we want to grieve first. But I say let's grieve, let's mourn, and let's seek justice. We're not going to stand for this.
There's nothing wrong with us speaking out, you see. Sometimes people are afraid to say what it is that they need to say. So we turn the other cheek. But this brother didn't have a chance to say what he needed to say. He didn't have a chance to say what he needed to say to his killer. But if he had the chance to tell him something, he would have said to him, brother, we are the same. But you took me because of hatred. We are here to stand against hatred. It is not okay to hate our brother. So we stand here against white supremacy, the supreme order designed to exterminate our people.
Some while ago, we had a brother by the name of Richard Collins III. He was stabbed in the chest by a white supremacist by the name of Sean Urbanski. He went to the University of Maryland. Now, a jury found Sean Urbanski guilty of first-degree murder of what he did in May of 2017 after 2 hours of deliberation. It was quick. The verdict came one day after the judge dropped the hate crime charge against the defendant. Now, why did he do that? Why was he throwing a bone to his fellow member? Obviously, that's what they're doing. Now, I would never, as a judge, drop a hate crime charge. You killed a man. That's the last thing I'm worried about, is dropping any kind of charges on you. Now, they said at the time period, Collins was a newly commissioned Army lieutenant who was visiting friends at the College Park campus when drunken Urbanski came up to him and stabbed him as he waited on the bus stop. And Prince George County prosecutors argued that the attack was racially motivated, saying a young white man had targeted Collins because he was black. At trial, prosecutors also pointed Urbanski's ties to Friends Facebook group called Alt-Right Nation and racist memes discovered on the defendant's cell phone. As one of the images prosecutors said advocates of violence against blacks, and another featured image of a noose. That's why they charged him with a hate crime, because he has a propensity to hate black people. And the judge, by the name of Lawrence Hill, ruled that the state failed to meet its burden of proof that the stabbing was solely motivated by race. You finding him a part of all kind of racist groups. He say he want to do violence to black people, got memes, got all these different things. So obviously he don't like black people too much. And then when he commits a crime against a black person and kill them, you go say, well, the state didn't meet, enough proof to say it was a hate crime charge. Now, the father of the brother said that he was hurt to see the judge remove the hate crime charge. Removing the hate crime charge reduces the sentence, because he would have got a stiffer sentence with the hate crime charge having a murder charge as well. So the judge gave this guy a bone. Now, the jury was mostly African American, and they were upset about the hate crime charge being dismissed. It says that they weren't out long because it's plain in what he did. You get what I'm saying? So the judge wanted to basically undermine the jury that was there. That's what he wanted to do. All these people here, they cover for each other. If it's not hate crime charges, they're covering for pedophiles. That's why I say, man, these people don't need to be judges. They don't need to be police officers. They don't need to be prosecutors. They don't need to be any of that. The day got to come where black folks need to fill all those roles up if you're going to live in this country. I will say that much. Because, you know, like I said, for me, I always say have your Africa plan, because it's going to take some time for them to get out of power. It's going to take a while. It said that the murder conviction carries a maximum sentence of life without parole, and prosecutors will be asking for life without parole, but knowing this judge, I don't see him doing that at all. Let me know what you think about this particular story. I mean, this is, you know, definitely good that he has a murder conviction, but to remove the hate crime, that was just sickening to hear that. But this don't bring the son back at all, but hopefully the family can have some sort of closure.
And engaging our enemy with intellectual warfare. The dominant society will never switch up their playbook, so we must make a new one. The war we find ourselves in is a technological war, using technology, propaganda, and psyops to oppress and control you. Black intelligentsia, please share the new black media, counter propaganda arms, make it plain TV.